I'd rather smoke cigarettes than be fat. There, I said it. I know that's not going to be popular, but I live in Middle Tennessee. And here in Middle Tennessee, outside of the county that Nashville sits in, you can smoke in restaurants and pool halls if they allow it. And so the pool hall that I go to regularly has cigarette smoking. So I'm around it. And any pool hall you go to, for the most part, allows cigarette smoking. Alabama and here in Tennessee, except in the Nashville County, Davidson County. And of course, then in that county, people are smoking outside like they normally are. But here's my point. So I'm around smoking all of the time. And here's the thing that I've come to, that personally, as I look at those smokers and I feel bad for people who smoke and that they're controlled by that nicotine addiction. And I know the impact that smoking is having on their bodies and what that's going to do to them down the line in a way that they can't see today. I feel the same way, though, about being fat and obese. It's a frog in a pot, as I've said many times, and it's a slow cook until all of a sudden you can no longer do the things that you should be able to do, and the impact on your life from disease, overall health certainly, but disease, diabetes, things of that nature are going to catch up with you, and all of those things you put in your mouth are ultimately going to kill you tragically and early. It's almost a guarantee. So you're looking at two things that equal the same. I mean, far more people have died from eating sugar than have ever died from smoking cigarettes, simply because sugar is as prevalent and as allowed as it is. So you look it up. It's probably 10, 15 times as many people. But if I look at it from afar and say, what would I rather do? What would I rather live in a day-to-day? Would I rather live smoking cigarettes and skinny? Or would I rather live fat, period? No cigarettes or cigarette, one or the other, but just fat. Would I rather live fat? Well, I've lived fat. I know what that feels like. I know what that's about. I know what it's like not to be able to tie my shoes or see my feet. I know what it's like to have to go upstairs and downstairs and get out of my car, right? I know what it's like to be tired every single step that you take of the day. I know what it's like to have to put out any kind of effort, extra energy, carrying around 50, 75, 100, 150 pounds. I know what all that is like. It's no good. I know that I'd rather be able to see my feet and tie my shoes and bend over at the waist smoking cigarettes than I would being fat. So I've come to this conclusion, not for nothing. It's meaningless in the whole conversation because I wouldn't do either. But I think that we need to start viewing cigarette smoking and sugar eating in the same, from the same perspective. I think that, yes, cigarette smoking is, it can be put off onto other people, and being around it is terrible, although in most places you don't have to put up with that, just here in Tennessee, as I explained in some places. But nobody makes me go to these pool halls. Nobody makes me go to these places where there's smoking, so I can stay clear of it. But there is that part of it where you're not by yourself in the same way that you would if you're fat. Unless, of course, you're on an airplane and I have to sit next to you, then we got issues. But overall, I just think that my quality of life, living, even though it's cut short and even though it's going to be diseased from smoking cigarettes, is probably going to be far superior, as long as I'm relatively healthy in the rest of my life, than it would be to be fat. And so being overweight, being obese, for me, is going to be far worse. Now, doing both of them, y'all heading for certain death, and probably a fairly horrible one. And the best thing you can hope for is a quick heart attack that takes you down. But short of that, I think that I would much rather live my life as a cigarette smoker. There's a conversation for you. Opportunities are everywhere. You got to go get them. That's how my brain works. Go for a walk.